Henry Cejudo had a little bit to say after Tom Aspinall won the interim title this last pay-per-view, kind of stating that Aspinall made too big of a deal or was too emotional um, for winning an interim title, for it being a second place thing, and him not actually being the champion and it just being a number one contender spot. And so he's been catching a little bit of flack from some people about it. Um, I don't know. I think like I do see some merit in what he's saying, but at the same time though too, like I think it's okay for people to get emotional with an accomplishment like that. It's the interim title. Like his dad's in his corner, and his dad, however long ago, quit his job to become a jiu-jitsu coach full time and teach up his boys, teach up his sons. And now his son is an interim champion in the UFC. It's a very beautiful storyline. I could see where a lot of emotion would be in there. He got injured. It was about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago. Came back. Now is the interim champ. Like, there's just a story there where I think that there is a lot to be emotional about. And maybe Henry was maybe doing a little bit too much. But this is what one of his friends in DC, someone that he has some past with being in the Olympics, being on the Olympic US team with him, had to say about it. So we'll go over what DC had to respond to Henry making some of those claims.
Henry Cejudo, man, I like the guy. I do. This dude has never been more wrong. Henry said Tom Aspinall shouldn't have been as emotional to become the champion. It's not the real belt. It's not fair. Henry Cejudo became the UFC champion because he's a tremendous athlete and he is just a winner. He's just a winner. But Henry Cejudo was not groomed to be UFC champion. Henry Cejudo was groomed to be the Olympic wrestling champion. And he
Maybe he
did
has a
that.
point right
And
there
when
with
he
that.
did that, he cried. He was excited and he was the champ. And it felt like he had accomplished the world. That's what Tom Aspinall did. Interim or not, they're wrapping 12 pounds of gold around his belt. So he got emotional. That feels as real to him as that Olympic gold medal put around Henry Cejudo's neck back in Beijing. His father quit working to train him to go chase that belt. Henry's wrong. Friend or not, wrong.
So there you have it. That's what DC had to say about it. I think the point that he made about Henry kind of maybe having a certain mentality because of him going and chasing an Olympic gold medal, maybe he has a pretty good point on that. Like maybe this mindset that Henry has on this is coming from that aspect. It's either gold or nothing. And if I ain't having that gold put around my neck or my waist, I didn't do enough. I haven't proven myself. I don't have the opportunity to relax a little bit, so to say, or, feel like I really did it. I really accomplished what I came out to do. Maybe that's kind of where Henry's coming from. It's just, hey, Tom, don't let this give you too big of a head. This ain't the actual belt. You still have some work to do. Keep on putting that work in. You're going to need to do that fighting against somebody like John Jones. I can kind of see that point, being made from Henry, and that's kind of where he's coming from. But Henry ended up responding to this. Seems like he didn't quite like what Daniel had to say. So we'll listen to what Henry had to respond with.
So DC, man, you're turning on your Olympic team, man. You're turning against the greatest combat athlete of all time. But you know what, DC, I love it. If I was to win an Olympic silver medal, you think you see me running around? You think you see me crying? You think I would want to pick up that American flag and represent all of us? An interim bout just means you're the number one contender. And for all you soft people that don't like that, including Tom Aspinall, because yeah, I will say this. Yeah, it was too much. Save those tears. Save those tears that if you can beat a guy like John Jones, if you can truly beat the greatest of all time and say you are a world champion. I just personally think, first of all, congratulations to Tom. But at the same time, you're the number one contender, man. The interim belts mean nothing. They mean nothing because you know what it's all about. And this is why it's all about being the absolute best in the world. And if you don't understand it, if you guys don't get that logic of you being number one to say you're number one, not number two, number one, then it's different. But DC, you wouldn't know. You know why? Because there's only one Triple C. There's only one greatest combat athlete of all time, and his name is Triple C. P.S.
That's what he had to say. He had his appeared too. Hey DC, nobody asked for your two chins, even though the belt couldn't fit around your waist. It was still undisputed. Tom, congrats on being the best side chick in the UFC. So there you have it. Henry leaning into his little bit of a heel role. But like I said, I do see some points being made here that from both sides. I think Henry has some points with, maybe this is more of him trying to put Tom Aspinall in the best position that he needs to be put in with his mindset going forward, knowing that there's still some more work to be done and don't feel like you accomplished it yet. And I see the other side too, where this was a very emotional win for him, regardless if it was for the interim title. Let the man live a little bit. If he wants to be a little bit emotional and cry and let it out, let it be. Doesn't always need to be these takes on some of these things. Sometimes people just need to be left alone. But that's the way this social media and entertainment game goes, I guess, right? So what do you guys think? Who do you think's in the right here? Who do you think's in the wrong? Like I said, I kind of see on both sides there being some merit behind what's being said. I'm not trying to pick a side on this one. Um, I think both Henry and DC had some good things to say and both have valid points. But we'll see how this pans out. We'll see if a little bit more beef ends up happening between Henry and anyone else, or if more beef happens between him and DC in the future, or if they just hash it out. And maybe this is just all a little bit scripted. Maybe it's all for them to get some views on their content. It's definitely a thing that happens. So